We're not live yet. We're live, right? Okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of EPLW, and this is a Fantasy Premier League episode. We are looking forward to this week's game week on FPL. With me tonight is the ever affable and ranty Roz. How you doing?
Not too bad, mate. How are you, yourself?
Yeah, good. I'm glad you got the email about the check shirt as well. I've been banging on the door for that one for ages. Yeah. And I can see you got your Millwall scarf in the background there, and your Tom York picture's come down though. What's happened there?
It has, yeah. No, it fell down. The nail kind of went. I don't know. When it kind of loses its grip a bit in the wall, and luckily it didn't smash. So
That would have been
I
a
decided
nightmare.
not to risk putting it up again. But thanks for noticing. Like,
No, yeah,
watching. You've got sort of two loves of my life there in Radiohead and Millwall next to each other. Occasionally, the Millwall scarf comes off when it's cold, and I actually need to wear it. But yeah.
But it's not every day the Tom York portrait comes off. Okay, there we go. There's the small talk out of the way. Let's get down to the big talk, which is the Fantasy Premier League. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to have a quick look at our teams from last week, Roz's team and my team, because I'm a person as well. And then we're going to talk through this week's games, and we'll see what we think, who's going to be there or thereabouts. If you saw our show last Saturday, we wrongly predicted almost every game between us. So hopefully we do better this week. But it was an unpredictable game week, and this is the most unpredictable season. You can follow us on Twitter at EPLW Pod. You can also like this video, subscribe to this channel, push the notifications button to make sure you never miss a live stream, and also put a comment in the live text. I am checking the live chat tonight, so if you've got a comment or something you want to hear about, or you want an opinion, if you want Roz's opinion on Marcelo Bielsa, you'll probably get that anyway, so maybe think of something a bit different. Yeah, just drop it in the comments box, and we'll get round to your questions. Okay, so let's first then have a look at
Wow, you did pretty well, Joe.
I did do pretty well. I got 95 points. Sorry if you're experiencing audio issues, by the way. I'm having a bit of a problem this end. Let's try that. Okay. So, yeah, there's my team. Ederson, Cancelo and Sterling for City. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes. Wan-Bissaka was quite a lucky one. I put him in thinking, oh, he'll get a clean sheet, hopefully. But he went and got 17 points. Lad. And then, obviously, Maddison. I'm quite happy with that team. There's not much I'm going to change this week, to be honest with you. What do you reckon?
Pretty solid. With the Wan-Bissaka thing, it was interesting with the analysis. I said when we sort of went over the game that it's not a game that's going to make Southampton season, and it's not a game that's going to make Man United season. And it was all kind of contextual. The analysis they were saying was that, Sean and Wan-Bissaka, we've been asking them for weeks to kind of press up, be a bit more like Liverpool's fullbacks, a bit more like Chelsea's fullbacks earlier in the season, a bit like Leicester's even. And, come on, he was basically playing as a winger, but they were also playing against 10 men for the majority of the game, 9 men for a bit of it. I think you have to take it with a pinch of salt. It's not every week that Wan-Bissaka is going to get you 17 points. He's much more kind of defensive, back in there. More than attacking, but well done. Yeah, your luck.
Thank you very much.
Not bitter. And you made Sterling captain. I remember you saying that Sterling was going to be your captain in the previous game week, and you had a sneaky feeling that he'd play through the middle. And he, I think both your captain and vice captain didn't even play a minute in that game.
Yeah, they didn't, and I still got quite a good total last week somehow, actually, out of that, without a captain. But this time around, maybe I didn't choose the right captain, but at least I got a scoring captain. There's nothing worse than getting a dud like Bruno Fernandes last week, or even the week before. A lot of people went for him as captain last week and ended up with 4 points. which is killer. Okay, should we move on and have a look at your team then, Roz?
Let's do it. I think I did a worse captain than you. Yeah, so I went for Diaz captain, thinking they definitely well, they did get a clean sheet. And I was really fortunate, actually. We all know about Pep's rotation. It's really fortunate that actually all three of my City players played. And the reason for that is that if they didn't, with my bench, Bednarek would have actually come in to replace one of them, who got -7 points. So thanks, Pep, for that.
Wow, that could have been killer.
Players that have been playing well.
So you got 84 points in total. Also, with the Man City rotation thing, a lot of people put Foden in last week, expecting him to be rested for the Liverpool game on Sunday. But that appears to not be the case. He's either being rested for both, or he's set to feature in that Liverpool game because he didn't play a minute. What do you make of that?
It's an interesting one. He's relatively cheap, isn't he? I think he's about 6.5 million playing in a kind of free-scoring City side. I took him out, I think 2 game weeks ago, for Ilkay Gundogan, who seems to be performing a lot better. It's a hard one. Even when Foden when I took him out, I think City won, who seemed to be performing a big scoreline. And he had a fantastic game, but didn't get a single goal or assist. And it kind of just, it frustrated me. You know when you have those weeks in fantasy football, where you feel like you're stuck by your man for so long, and you get really angry with them, and you decide to sort of draft them out because they're not doing it for you. And then inevitably, in the next game week, they bag you about 15 points. So, having taken Foden now, really expecting him to score a hat-trick against Liverpool.
So, still holding on to Son and Kane there. That's the glaring thing from my end, looking at your team.
Yeah. So, with Son, seriously considering taking him out. I'm not considering taking Harry Kane out. For the reason that, as it stands, it could still only be a 2-week problem. Jose Mourinho's been saying it's kind of good news every time he gets a report about the injury. The other thing is that I've had Kane in since the beginning, and since then his price has gone up substantially, a good sort of 500,000 or something. And it's one of those, if I draft him out, then he starts scoring again towards the back end of the season, then I've just lost myself 500,000 to kind of play with for my squad there. So I'm going to keep him, I think, on the bench until I know a bit more about the injury before drafting him out.
They appear to be not much without Kane, Spurs, really and truly. I mean, this is a fantasy-orientated chat. Let's be clear about that. But just a quick touch on last night. They just weren't the same team, Spurs, without Harry Kane in the side, and that was very evident last night, wasn't it?
Definitely, and to sort of relate it to fantasy football, I guess, Leicester to have the same problem without Vardy. And it's all about if a big player goes missing, whether a player has it in them to kind of step up and kind of get their team going. I was fully expecting that from Heung-min Son, and he was pretty anonymous yesterday. And Spurs just were really lethargic. They didn't. I would say they were playing for a draw, but if you're doing that against a side that's kind of going to hold on to the ball and relentlessly come onto you, like we've seen from Thomas Tuchel's kind of first 2 games.
Tuchel.
Naive.
Yeah, Tuchel, by the way. Tuchel. You told me it was pronounced Tuchel. Anyway.
I did.
One more point I want to touch on your team, actually, is your ever-present James Justin. Ever-present? Has he been there the whole season? Have you had him?
Yeah. And actually, I'm thrilled about this because do you remember, was it a couple of episodes ago, I was saying that I used to watch, I do watch pre-season games quite a bit, and I'm sort of getting I need my football hit. And I did watch, with Ben Chilwell going to Chelsea, I did watch a few Leicester games even, and Justin was sort of an ever-present there, and thought, right, Brendan Rodgers is really building him up to be kind of Ben Chilwell's direct replacement there. He's been superb. He's been absolutely terrific. He's been getting me clean sheets. He got me a goal this week. A goal from about 4 yards out after he went round the goalkeeper. Not the kind of goal you expect from from a left back there after a brilliant ball from Anderson. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah, he's been doing it for me.
We'll get on to Leicester obviously, but in my team I kept hold of Maddison, and I had Maddison and Barnes before last week, and I kept hold of Maddison and dropped Barnes, and last week Barnes did really well, Maddison didn't. This week I stuck with him. I didn't switch back to Barnes, and it's finally paid off. So yeah, Maddison's another good one. I mean, Leicester, in terms of Leicester, it's Maddison and Barnes and Justin. If you got those three, you got a chance, haven't you?
Definitely. And the only one would be Jamie Vardy. You know, obviously you can only have three players in the team, and obviously without him, then I think those are the ones to go for.
Cool. Okay, let's look at this game week's fixtures then, shall we? So look, we'll start off with tomorrow's fixtures. Saturday, 12:30, Aston Villa v Arsenal. Arsenal without Leno, Arsenal without Louise as well. Where do you see the points coming in this game in terms of fantasy points?
It's an interesting one. I mean, Villa haven't really, they've had a bit of knocking form. They did well to beat Southampton. I thought that would be a really close game. And then after that, who did they lose to last week? West Ham. The old Claret and Blue Derby.
Yeah.
So they've had a tough run of fixtures. Now they've got Arsenal. I fully expect Jack Grealish to feature, as you always kind of do. I don't know if Louise is going to be much of a miss. Personally, I've never rated him in a back four. For me, he only looks good if he's in a back three in that Conte season, or playing next to Thiago Silva at PSG. So it'll be interesting to see who comes in there to replace David Luiz. But maybe, do you reckon a few Arsenal frailties showing it back? It's hard to call it after that Wolves game, isn't it?
It is hard to call it. I mean, I think that was a blip more than anything, the Wolves game, if I'm honest.
Sure.
And I think it was sparked by David Luiz's, frankly, stupid decision to bring down Willian Jose when he was clean through, probably going to score, would have had a chance against 11. But anyway, let's not go into that. I think this game is poised for an Arsenal win. I honestly do. As long as Gabriel's back. Gabriel's back. He's just back in time for this Luiz situation. So Gabriel and Holding playing centre-back. I don't know if he chooses to go three at the back. I reckon Holding can do a job with Watkins. I think we've got experienced enough fullbacks in Bellerin and Tierney, who are both looking like they should be back, to deal with the likes of Grealish and Mohamed Trezeguet. I think in midfield it's pretty close. As long as Partey is around, we've got the edge of midfield. And obviously going forward with Saka, the Croydon De Bruyne, Martinelli, Lacazette. I think that's pretty much the 11 I've named there. Anyway, I think Arsenal can get something out of this, but I think it will be close, and I think it'll be won and lost in the midfield. But I think the odd goal, and it's going to be a Lacazette sort of game, I think.
Well, one player you missed out of your 11 was your goalkeeper, and of course Leno was playing NBA in the last game and will be suspended for this one.
Yeah.
Matt Macy. I mean, not Matt Macy. He's your other goalkeeper, Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
I love this at Arsenal. It's like players don't have injury problems, and there's something in the water at Arsenal where they just seem to pick up these incredibly long injuries.
Yeah.
I think Danny Welbeck had about 20 days off in 4 years at Man United, and had about 4 years injured at Arsenal and about 20 days on.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Matt Ryan, at Arsenal, backup goalkeeper injured, so it looks like Renarsson's probably going to feature there.
Renarsson, who looked so confident against Wolves. Do you know what? This is going to sound outrageous and really harsh, but when he was coming on the sidelines, I just thought he's got really small hands. I looked at his hands and I thought, they are not goalkeepers' hands. Do you know what I mean? At least wear bigger gloves or something. Make your hands look bigger. Do a bit of that close to the. I don't know.
I think that's the height of football punditry right there. That's like sort of Jamie Redknapp level of analysis. Whereas, yeah, but he's got really, really small hands, isn't he? I know what you mean. He doesn't look full of confidence. I can't imagine his confidence is particularly high after being signed as a backup goalkeeper after Martinez went to Villa. And then in the very next window, Arsenal signing a new goalkeeper to be their number 2. And now they're kind of stuck with him in a tough game against Villa. With that in mind, I think Villa will kind of shoot on sight. And it's whether you can kind of keep it in that battle in midfield. I fancy Villa to score, which is why I'm going for someone like Jack Grealish, Trezeguet. I reckon I can't see Arsenal keeping a clean sheet there.
Fair enough. So in that game, you're going to go for a Grealish or Trezeguet you're tipping. And I'm good. I mean, I'd be remiss to not go with Arsenal. So I'm going to say Lacazette, Saka and Croydon De Bruyne are the ones to look out for Arsenal. There. Okay, let's move on to Burnley-Brighton, 3:00 kickoff. It's going to be on Sky Sports, that one. Sorry, the Villa-Arsenal game will be on BT Sport. Burnley-Brighton will be on Sky Sports at 3:00. Burnley-Brighton. Wow. 2 teams who have just done Liverpool at Anfield. Squaring
we're
up.
not scared of Anfield Derby. I really want to comment like that. It's an interesting game. I said on the last show, I can't see it being full of goals.
Do you reckon... I've got a theory about this game.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, I've got a theory about this game. I think they're both going to employ their low blocks. They're just going to leave the ball on the centre circle, take the knee, they're going to kick it. They're just going to kick it, and then they're going to both retreat like that and sit there for 45 minutes and agree to a 0-0.
I've seen the Monty Python sketch of the philosophers' football match, where it's all these philosophers like Aristotle, Socrates, not the Brazilian Socrates, World Cup winning captain, the philosopher, playing football, and the game kicks off, and then they just go, they try and work out the meaning of life. And then in the 91st minute, in stoppage time, one of them just goes, Eureka! And then runs through and scores a goal. But,
and that's how this game's going to go.
I think it will go down to... Well, I think Brighton have more quality, ultimately. We both know them for their kind of rugged defensive displays. Brighton's 3 at the back versus Burnley's lines and just kind of you shall not pass mentality. But I think Brighton just have a little bit more. I think they have, as Mus was saying in the last show, actually, the ability to kind of pass through teams.
Yeah, true, but...
a bit of football.
I think Brighton tend to commit numbers, don't they? So is that where Burnley, or Gandalf, as you might call them, is that how they get round on the counter and nick one? A Chris Wood header, one of them,
Yeah. I think Brighton are able to do that because they're so solid at the back. They're
so solid. Yeah.
You've got the likes of Ben White.
Sorry, that was a really niche UK garage reference. Sorry. So solid crew. Anyway, yeah. Look.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. So you're going Brighton defenders, are you, or what you saying?
No, I'm saying that I think the reason Brighton can kind of commit more men forward is they have better ball players, but also that solidarity in the back. Sean Dyche would like to have. He'd love to have someone like Lewis Dunk on his books.
Yeah,
someone like Dan Burn, someone like Adam Webster. They're very Burnley players, aren't they? But then Brighton also have that little bit more with the likes of Ben White, who loves it to feet and kind of take the ball up the pitch there. They've got players like Al Zati.
Alexis McAllister. Trossard. They got a very unique squad there, actually. A lot of under the radar signings. Yeah, so you reckon the impenetrable Brighton Rock, White, White and Dunk and all that. You reckon they've got it? Got what it takes?
I think if you go for defenders, Ben White, Dunk's capable of getting you a goal. They'll all get, they're all good for a clean sheet. I like to have Webster. If Dan Burn keeps his place at left wing back, then as I said last time, he was unlucky to not get an assist there for the winning goal at Anfield. He looks like an absolute revelation there, all 6'7" of him.
Yeah.
Left wing back bombing up the pitch.
Okay, so Whiteburn can't dunk for Brighton then, and I reckon Burnley. Sorry, that was awful. I reckon Burnley sneak it on the break. I reckon it's 1-0 Burnley, and I think it's going to be a Chris Wood kind of game. So I'm going to predict that 1-0 Chris Wood. I think he's the man to have there as well. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're looking at a Dwight McNeil or a Jack Cork to provide the assist, but I think Chris Wood's your bet if he plays. Which I'm just looking at. And
I think Ashley Barnes is still injured.
Yeah, no, Chris Wood's out. I've just...
Actually, I'll tell you, he played really well. Well, as well as he could have against Chelsea, was Matthias Vydra.
Yes.
Vydra, who kind of came in place for Ashley Barnes there. The few problems that Burnley did cause Chelsea were through him. Player I've been watching for a while back from his days at Derby. Very quick on the turn.
Was he at Watford as well?
Tons of players.
Was he at Watford, Vydra?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was with Watford in the Prem and then Derby in the Championship or something like that. But he's a good player, and like I say, he was causing Chelsea a few problems. So if you're going to go for a Burnley striker, if you feel like Burnley are the team that's going to win, then Vydra might be a shout.
I mean, the truth is, Roz, that I haven't got anyone from Burnley or Brighton in my team. I literally don't care about that game. Let's go on to the next one. Newcastle Southampton, 3:00 on BT Sport. There's only really one person to talk about in this fixture, isn't there? Callum Wilson.
I thought you were going to say, I was trying to think of players that have played, I thought you were going to call it this derby, and I was like, what players have played for both?
The stripy derby.
Alan Shearer, the Alan Shearer derby, maybe?
The Alan, well, yeah, there's a few of those, but yeah, the Alan Shearer derby.
Would you say Callum Wilson? It's interesting. You never know, particularly when thinking about fantasy football, and if it's when backing players. If a team's got an absolute pounding in the previous game, it can go either that they're going to be stuck in that rut, or they're going to bounce back dramatically, and they're going to kind of use it as fuel. I guess a kind of elongated form of that was when they lost 9-0 against Leicester, and then went on this amazing run right up until now, where we were even talking about them as sort of 5th or 6th contenders, maybe even higher. But I think with their injury troubles, I don't think it's a case of necessarily your head's dropping and not kind of being at it and needing something to kick you up the backside. I think they've just got too many losses here. If Andy Carroll plays, then I think he will absolutely bully the Southampton back line. He's probably going to be. It's going to be a really young back line, isn't it? Because obviously you've got Bednarek missing, Vestergaard still out. You had a 20-year-old at right back the other night against Man United.
I think they're expecting.
The likely back four is going to be quite an inexperienced one.
I think they are expecting Walker Peters to be back and fit, so that'll be good news, and potentially Ryan Bertrand could fill in at left back as well, couldn't he? So, an interesting one. Again, I mean, not much to go on. Newcastle's next 2 games: Man United and Chelsea, and then Wolves. Southampton have got Wolves and Chelsea. So, I mean, really, I'd say I wouldn't be looking to have anyone in my fantasy team from either of those games.
Nah, not at all.
But if you've got Callum Wilson, it might be worth leaving him on the bench.
Good shout.
5:30 kickoff tomorrow is Sky Sports. It's Fulham versus West Ham. Surely we only really need to talk about West Ham here and whether or not you've got Souček in your team. And if you have, you're not an idiot. And if you haven't, you probably are an idiot, like me. I don't have Thomas Souček in my team. Do you?
No, but with me, it's not a matter of intelligence. It's a matter of principle. From ever since playing fantasy football, I've never had a West Ham player.
What?
Never? Had
Never?
a Crystal Palace player. No, never had a
Never
West Ham player,
once.
never had a Crystal Palace player. And I still do so well, don't I? It's incredible.
And you're so
this season,
humble
never
with
had a
it.
Leeds
Yeah.
player. If there was one player that I could get, it would definitely be Thomas Souček. I love him more I watch him, and it pains me to see him in that Clark blue shirt doing so well. Did you see the post-match interview with Scott Parker on Match Today? Was it Match? I think I watched it on Match Today after the last game, and the question was something like, surely time is running out. For you to kind of make a great escape. And I just felt sorry for him. I felt really sorry for Scott Parker. He kind of had this sort of hurt tone in his voice. It was like, we got 17 games to go, and we're not dead yet. It was a bit like it's a bit like Kevin Keegan after the famous "I Would Love It" thing, where it's like, well, you can tell him we're still fighting for this. It was really traumatic. It's just like, oh, Scott, you're just not. Your team's not good enough at this level. Their performances have got better, but they're going down.
Look, we could do a whole episode on your love and admiration of Scott Parker, but this is fantasy football, and we need to talk about one other West Ham player. I think, two actually. There's two I've earmarked. Souček, you should have in your team, no doubt. Get him in, and unless you have no other option, get Souček in. Antonio is great value up top, and also Jesse Lingard.
Jesse Lings, yeah, he's the one of the three. I reckon most people probably have Souček in by now, to be honest.
Most except for us.
Definitely start him. I think Jesse Lingard's the one. If you kind of look at drafting someone in, what debut he had for the Hammers.
Souček's still only 5.4 million as well, by the way, and Jesse Lingard 6 million, both representing quite good value for a very informed team. Antonio 6.7, so you can get yourself some bargains with West Ham this season, definitely. Sorry to cut across you there. I just realised we are taking a lot of time talking about that particular match. So we're going to move on to Man United Everton, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. It's on Sky Sports. Who are the movers and shakers in this one, Roz?
It's a hard game to call, isn't it? I would stick by, if everyone has him, Edison Cavani. I would stick by, if everyone has him, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think they're both strikers with... Who are they?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, Cavani, it looks like he's not going to play. He came off, didn't he? And he had a bit of a knock, so it's not 100% if he's going to play. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep him there?
Yeah. I think if he's fit, then he plays. I wouldn't necessarily draft him in. But what I said was that if anyone has him, then stick by him. It's always worth kind of sticking with that. If you don't have Dominic Calvert-Lewin, despite the amazing start he had, he's still relatively cheap, I believe.
Yeah, you can get Calvert-Lewin.
Still.
You can get Calvert-Lewin for 7.6 million. So
yeah, absolute steal for a goal scorer who's probably going to be in the top 4 of top goal scorers by the end of the season, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, do you remember the Ollie Burke goal for Sheffield United against Man United?
Yeah.
Where he kind of just stood in the same place and the ball just happened to come to him because Man United was so shambolic at the back. Replace that with a striker with absolute top movement, always making kind of darting runs, finding himself in the right place. He could get a couple.
So you're going Cavani, Calvert-Lewin are your tips for that one? I mean, if I've got Bruno Fernandes in, I'm saying keep him because, I mean, he's going to have an influence on the game, no doubt. And the sort of levels he's playing at right now, I mean, I think there was a stat the other day, I'm not sure 100% what the stat was off the top of my head, but he's basically done better than Ronaldo did in his first year. It's been about a year he's been there. I mean, I know Ronaldo was a bit of a slow burner, but surely the signs are good. Keep Bruno Fernandes in there. Maybe even a shout for captain this week. I feel like Everton are inconsistent. You know, they win, then they lose, then they win, then they lose. Like, they're due a loss here, surely. And Man United will have their tails up. So I'm going to keep Bruno in. I'm going to keep Wan-Bissaka in. I haven't decided on my captain yet, but Bruno's in with a shout for me.
I think Bruno Fernandes has a ridiculous goal involvement record, which is something like 1 in 1. You know, it'll be a goal or an assist, and it's something like 40 games for Man United, and it's 1 in 1. Yeah, I mean, I always keep those players in. You never know what's going to happen. The one thing about Everton is they are still managed by Italian masterminds at defending.
Yeah.
In Carlo Ancelotti. He knows how to shut out a team. Unless you're talking about if you're 3-0 up in the Champions League final in Istanbul. But usually he knows how to shut out a team.
Do you reckon that's why he's Everton manager?
I think it's a hard game to call. This, again, you're saying Everton, you never know who's going to turn up. But I think Man United would edge it just. I think both sides would definitely score.
Yeah. So who are you tipping then? Where's the value? Fantasy football.
Yeah, so I'm going for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. If James Rodriguez is still out, then Gylfi Sigurdsson has kind of come into that role and really provided a bit of spark there. I'd imagine he's probably quite cheap, and is probably going to be on free kicks and corners there with Sigurdsson.
Yeah, Gylfi Sigurdsson,
shout.
6.8 million, so
yeah,
great value. Okay, so you reckon the value is actually in the Everton players on that one? Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Let's move on then to Sunday and Spurs West Brom, 12 o'clock kickoff on BT Sport. Where's the value in this game? Very interesting.
Really hard one for Spurs, isn't it? Because I was saying earlier in the show that I think this is the week that I might actually take Son out. Jose has tried lots of things. He's tried putting Gareth Bale in the 9, as I predicted he would. That didn't work out. He then went with Vinicius in the last one. That didn't really work out. I don't think the value here is Spurs players. I think it's we're getting to that point in their season where I think the players believe now that they're just not up to it without Harry Kane.
Yeah. It's almost like...
Go.
I mean, sorry, this is a bit of an aside, but it's almost like Mourinho cursed it in that interview again before the Liverpool match when he said, if we were to lose Harry Kane, it would be impossible to replace him. He sort of made his bed with that comment, and now he's kind of laying in it, given the last couple of results. You know, last night's loss to Chelsea was the first time Mourinho had lost back-to-back games in his career. You know, we're talking like 400 games, 500 games, and for the first time, he's lost back-to-back games, home games. So, I mean, obviously there'll be a response from him, but yeah, you know, Spurs, the perennial bottle jobs, they're bottling it. They're bottling it already.
They are.
It's great to see. You know, in a season where not much is going on for Arsenal, it's great to see that Spurs are bottling it a bit for us. Even with Mourinho at the helm, it makes it even sweeter because he always beats us. But so the value is in West Brom.
I was going to say, saying all of that, you've got to bear in mind the opposition in West Brom. It's so hard to call because I can see this being a really negative game. I can't see, despite the criticism, Jose's ego taking enough of a knocking to go, right, we're going to attack. And Big Sam, he's interesting. He hasn't really moulded them into that side that we associate with the Sam Allardyce side yet. They're not kind of burly, hard to break down, hard to beat. They're actually scoring a few goals and actually being quite leaky at the back, rather than kind of picking a win there. Despite knocking Spurs, I think they'll have too much. There's too much quality in that side to not be able to beat this West Brom side, who I think are mostly made up of Championship level players. To be honest,
surely we need to mention Mateus Pereira.
Yeah. And we've done it in our former episodes again. He's on penalties, he's on corners, he'll be on free kicks. He's an exciting player. Something about him, I think he was 6 or 6.5 when the season started. What's he on now?
When the season started, he was 6, and now he's actually 5.6. He's gone down.
Okay. Well, I was going to say what's incredible was that a side that's just been promoted, to have a player that is 6 million is actually quite expensive. For that, he was so good in that season when they got promoted. We've got to talk about him. We've also got to talk about...
And by Diagne?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was actually going to... Yeah. Him and I was... That wasn't who I was thinking of, actually.
Right.
Agreed. It was Grady Diangana.
Oh, Diangana, yeah.
He's back, isn't he?
Yes, apparently so.
He is back from injury. So he was a player that West Ham were absolutely gutted to lose, so much so that Mark Noble made a tweet against his club and said it was ridiculous that we let this guy go, which didn't bring him any favours in the West Ham boardroom. But Grady Diangana, real talent, and likes running at people, just like sort of taking someone on. Pacey, he could cause Spurs a few problems there, I think.
Cool. Okay, so Diangana and Pereira are where the value are for West Brom. For Spurs, you're saying you're sticking with Son for one last week?
Don't know. Haven't decided yet. This will be a cutthroat decision, probably about 2 hours before kickoff, and I'll go with my gut. But all week I've been thinking, I think it's time for Son to get cut out. He's big money. He's costing me points.
So you'll be making that decision just before we do our preview show tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. here on EPLW. Just throw that in there. Yeah, join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. We've got a few more fixtures to look through now. But if you're enjoying the video, if you're watching, enjoying the video, please push that like button and subscribe and hit the notification button as well, so you make sure you never miss a stream. Okay, on to Wolves Leicester, 2 o'clock on Sunday. It's on Sky Sports. We both loving the Leicester players in our teams at the moment. I think it's quite plain to see that Justin, Maddison and Barnes are really your top 3 that you want to be having in for Leicester. Is there any value in any Wolves player at the moment? And if so, who and why?
Well, don't be blinded by that absolutely brilliant strike from Jan Moutinho against Arsenal. It was a quality goal. We can watch it all day long. But I think it's his first goal in about 3 years.
Yeah. His first goal at Molineux, wasn't it? And only he's only scored a few for Wolves anyway. Yeah, so he's not really a scorer. So he's not. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
I was going to say, I think if you're looking to Wolves players, the one that I would usually say is actually Says. But I think he's injured.
Yeah,
he's still out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's their highest scoring defender this season. 64 points, and he's also one of the cheapest at 4.9 million. So good value there ordinarily. In the midfield though,
but you've got players like Podence, who I'm a big fan of.
5.3 million Podence, and Neto as well, 5.7 million.
Yeah.
Neto's got 96 points so far this season. A consistent scorer earlier on in the season. Had a bit of a dry run, but then ended up with 8 points against Arsenal for an assist and some bonus points. So good value there. Neto 5.7. That's what I reckon. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think also one of those sides in fantasy where you rarely are going to have sort of one player in that just kind of doesn't move. Like, for example, James Justin for me this season. But you judge it by the game and you see what the opposition is.
Yeah.
If they're playing a Fulham, if they're playing a West Brom, if they're playing Sheffield United, you might stick them in. For this one against Leicester, I probably wouldn't go for any Wolves players.
Okay, but if you've got Podence or Neto in your team, worth leaving them on the bench for next week or in the future. Not someone you want to necessarily be transferring out and in and out and in. That's my opinion. Let's go. Let's go then to the big one this Sunday, 4:30. It's of course on Sky Sports. Liverpool host Man City. Liverpool lost their last 2 games at home to Brighton and Burnley. Man City on an incredible run of 13 wins now in all competitions.
13 wins in a row. record equally.
There you go.
So if they beat Liverpool, I think they've broken the record there for. And it's kind of gone under the radar. It's an interesting one. No one's kind of been talking about this record.
Do you know what? It's weird, isn't it? I think it's because they had such a poor start to the season. But they have more than made up for it. And, you know, in the absence of De Bruyne and Ake and Aguero, other players have stepped up and come to the fore, namely İlkay Gündoğan. I think that's how you say it.
You know, it's a Turkish name. One of my best mates is Turkish. And no matter... I've tried pronouncing it different ways in front of him. Not actually checking how it's pronounced, just kind of experimenting. Gündoğan, Gündoğan, Gündoğan. And he corrects me every time, and I can never remember what the actual Turkish way to say it is.
Right, well, Roz's Turkish friend, if you're watching, please, can we get you in for an episode maybe and see if you can help us pronounce some of the Turkish names that we come across from time to time. That would be super helpful. Thank you so much. Wow, calling people out. Right, come on our show.
I like it.
Liverpool, Man City. So yeah, he has stepped up. İlkay Gündoğan. Sorry, I've gone full Paul Merson here.
İlkay Wonderland.
İlkay
Wonderland.
İlkay what Gündoğan. Okay, I'm going to stop trying to say it. This is unbelievable. I've never had this problem speaking before. Right, so he's been good. Raheem Sterling's been good, playing through the middle. You've got Diaz. I've got Cancelo.
I've got Diaz and Stones as well. It's a theme of each episode, isn't it? Pep Guardiola. What's he going to do? What is he going to do? He's probably going to play bloody Ederson up front, Sterling at centre half. You know,
I reckon Ederson would make
Diaz,
a great
the false 14. Who knows?
I reckon Ederson would make a great number 10 or like a centre mid. He is, and you don't want to get stuck in a challenge with him. His passing is unbelievable. Ederson's passing, the way he rakes these 70, 80 yard passes down the pitch, and they're inch perfect.
There was a chance in the Burnley game, actually, I remember, where there were kind of two elements of it. It was the Ederson pass, goal kick, but just to the feet of Mahrez. Mahrez just kills it. It was a touch almost as good. If he'd have scored, it would be in the same ballpark as the Salah goal against West Ham.
Yeah.
The touch was just divine.
Can we just say, like, I think Mahrez consistently, his touch is unreal. I know it's kind of a bit of an aside from the fantasy thing, but we're having a nice little kind of rambly chat about it anyway. Mahrez's touch is unbelievable. Every time I watch him play, ridiculous. I'm like, wow.
And I think actually it probably would have been the reason Ederson can play these passes from the back is that he's got players up there that he knows, like Mahrez, can just kill it in an instant, and they're in on goal. Ederson must be on... Does he get like 1 or 2 assists a season? I reckon if you got points from, like in the German game, the German fantasy football, you get points for an assist of an assist.
Yeah, he'd definitely get a few of those.
Ederson would be up there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he's on 93 points this season, and he is he's the third highest goalkeeper behind Emi Martinez and Nick Pope of Villa and Burnley respectively. So I mean, he's who I have in goal, Ederson.
Is he? Tell me this, Joe. Is he cheaper than Alisson?
Ederson is 6.1 currently. And Alisson, I'm just having to look down the list quite far here, surprisingly. It's 5.9. Alisson is way down the list in terms of Premier League keepers. He's 16th on the list of keepers this season.
They would have started on the same price, and just based on form this season, Ederson's raised in value, and Alisson's kind of sunk. Should we get onto the game based on that? I think Alisson was missing in the last game. Kelleher played in goal against Brighton. He'll be a huge loss if he's still out against Man City. I think Man City have this all the way, and I think it'll actually be the game that wraps up the title. To be honest, I think if Liverpool lose this, they're...
Wraps up the title. Are you serious?
Yeah. 100%.
That's an early call, mate. That is an early call.
This will be the game that we're talking about in a few months' time. That's when the year is over.
No, I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay, tell me this. What sides? I was talking to my brother about this the other day. In my opinion, the only sides that can take points off Man City, not draw Man City, not, you get your occasional freak result. The only sides that have a team capable of taking points off Man City are Liverpool, who are often, particularly at Anfield, a bit of a bogey side for them, and Man United, who, because of that kind of derby mentality, Man United always seem to have their number in a big derby. I don't think any other side in the Premier League can take points off Man City, assuming that they don't have a ridiculously bad day at the office. It's all about their consistency. They've won 13 games in a row.
I don't think...
Can you honestly tell me that you think I think after this it's something like a 10-point gap, can you see Man City dropping those 10 points up until May?
Yeah, I think it's perfectly feasible. I think they can. I think what you're saying is, the way it looks and the form and such. Yeah, exactly. They look like front runners, but there's so much that can happen in a Premier League season. We know that. The way Liverpool marched away with it last year and kept that gap, and it got bigger and bigger. I think that's a one-off. Maybe a two-off, because City, the Centurion year, they did a similar thing. But I honestly, I think it's just a bit too quick to say they're going to win the league. Mainly because we've got about 40 episodes of EPLW left to do, and I want people to keep watching.
Well, there are plenty of other talking points in the table, and for a long time, the talk of who's going to win top four has been more interesting, actually, than who kind of takes the title. But I'm doing it on history as well as current form. I'm doing it based on the fact that we've seen these Pep Guardiola sides time and time again just put together a run where they're just unplayable. And when City hit that form, I think you can write last season off because they knew they were out of the title race in January, really. And I, based on the way that I know Pep Guardiola and his sides can be, which is relentless, unforgiving, and absolutely dominant, I stand by. I don't see them dropping points apart from to Manchester United, apart from to maybe Liverpool, and the odd freak occurrence, maybe like the Arsenal Wolves game where they get 2 men sent off or something ridiculous.
Well, I mean, you don't see Sorry, I'm gonna stick one more point in there and then we'll move on. I think Tuchel's Chelsea look is extremely consistent already. I think they've faced a couple of different tests already and they look well up to the challenge. I think Tuchel will push City this season. So that's my big call. I've actually drafted in a couple of Chelsea players for next week. I've actually used I've used my free transfer, but I've also paid 4 points for a transfer as well because I'm that confident in Chelsea. I'm not going to tell you who it is, of course, because that would be cheating. But let's get on to the next game. So sorry, just to wrap up on that one. City are going to bowl them over. Stick with City defenders / midfielders.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying last time, Liverpool just looked so out of ideas, just didn't really know what to do against Brighton. And it's a bit like a derby, isn't it? It's a rivalry, so crazy things might happen. I would stick with your City defenders, in particular players like Cancelo, who can offer another threat going up the pitch.
Yeah.
Might even, I don't have him in my squad, but if I did, I might even consider captaining Cancelo.
Oh, interesting shout there from Roz, Captain Cancelo for the big game at Anfield. I don't know. I'm backing sort of Sterling as the one we haven't mentioned. I don't have Gundogan in my team. I'd definitely be backing him if I did. But Sterling, I reckon. I don't know. I reckon he's got a part to play at Anfield. There's a bit of the history there, you know.
I've got another mate who's a scouser, and every time I watch Liverpool City with her, Sterling tends to have a shocking game, and she just cackles with laughter every time he takes a shit touch, or if he
Okay, well,
and I have a feeling, this might not be, you can fact check me on this maybe for the next episode, but I have a feeling that Sterling has never scored at Anfield for a team other than Liverpool.
okay, we'll check that.
There's definitely a recurring theme, because like I say, I watch all these games with my Scouts mate, and Sterling never seems to have a good game against Liverpool. He always gets taken off early and just has a terrible day at the office. But that is with fans in the stadium, and that's an important point.
That is a very important point, yeah.
It can't be easy being with Team Sterling, turning your back on Liverpool and getting hounded and screamed at every time you get the ball.
I mean, well, the key thing here to note is, I think, looking at the time, is that when we do our fantasy show again next week, we're going to have to sharpen it up a bit, because we have gone way over here.
No, we have. Yeah,
but it's relevant chat, and it's good chat, and you can join us again tomorrow as well for our full EPL Gameweek preview, where we'll talk through team news and predictions and stuff like that. This is purely fantasy chat, so we're talking Sterling. I'm saying Sterling and Wunderwin, and Edison, and Roz is backing Cancelo for this one, maybe even captaining Cancelo, which is a bit of a wild shout in my eyes, but you know, that's how you win points in fantasy.
I wouldn't make it myself, but if I had to be my team manager and have any other options, he'd be my thinking.
Fair enough. Okay, the penultimate game of the week then is Chelsea's visit to Sheffield United, 7:15 on Sunday evening on Sky Sports. Chelsea at Sheffield United. Surely Sheffield United, no more miracles here. Thomas Tuchel will surely just suffocate them, and the value is surely in the Chelsea department, without giving too much away.
What did you say last night? It was something like Tuchel is averaging 101 possession each game.
Yeah.
101% possession. Yeah. And against a side like Sheffield United, it could be, 105%. It could be 110% go. Shoot through the roof. Yeah, you can't look at Sheffield United here, can you? I've been so impressed with Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. Thank you. And you pointed to it a few episodes ago, where you were talking about the use of wing backs. I've said before, it looks like he's smothering teams, starving of possession, and just the different. I'm enjoying watching it. I think that's the difference. I know Pep Guardiola's Barcelona side were amazing and his Bayern Munich side were amazing. I never loved watching them. I don't love watching Man City. I wouldn't mind watching the highlights and watching the goals, but I find that kind of possession quite boring. Thomas Tuchel's possession game is exciting. They're zipping balls cross field. They're trying to drag players out and playing behind them.
It's very busy, isn't it?
It's a really enjoyable watch.
So how does that translate to fantasy? Is the value then? I mean, for some reason, whenever we talk about wing backs, the hands come out like this. It's like wing backs. Wing backs. We both do it. I've noticed it. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
Wing backs.
I've never thought about it.
Is it a wings thing, or is it you're looking at the formation and they're about here?
It's that we both want to be managers. So we both want to be managers, and we can see those kind of magnetic boards with the little buttons.
Guys.
And we're kind of stretching them out. Guys. So wing backs.
Yeah.
That's what it is. We both just want to be managers.
So, I mean, something else Tuchel's done is brought in a fair amount of experience comparatively with before, with the likes of Alonso, Azpilicueta. He started Giroud up top in his first game. He's also looked to experience in one or two other departments. Kovacic and Jorginho, his preferred centre midfield, which is, without Kante.
Kante came on as a sub. Kovacic, I thought, had a brilliant game. That doesn't tend to be, in terms of fantasy, where the goals are coming from. or at least the chances. There was one Kovacic one where he sort of drove through, but mostly he likes his midfielders not to drive up the pitch too much and keep that stability. He looks to his wing backs to do that.
Yeah.
So because of that, I would look to the likes of Reece James. If I don't know if Ben Chilwell's still out, but he does seem to be sticking with Marcos Alonso there.
I'd be looking at Alonso, Azpilicueta, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, those wing backs, but not only the wing backs, but the players that rotate in. You know, like Azpilicueta actually plays as a centre back, but he'll nip out and he'll become part of the midfield and overlap. I mean, Tuchel's game, like you say, is so exciting, but I think it's
just something to watch.
It's based on the wide players. You know, I think I mean I'd be looking at those four probably Azpilicueta, Alonso, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi.
I'll back you on all of those, putting particular emphasis on Marcos Alonso and Christian Pulisic. Both brilliant. Pulisic has worked under him before, but was really good under Lampard, actually.
Yeah.
And sort of, I can see his career just going height to height to height, and he might this time next year make it to the Super Bowl.
solid pro, as it were. And the other thing about Pulisic, 8.2 million. He's actually one of their more expensive midfielders on offer, but worth it for you, I guess. Hudson-Odoi 5.7, so probably you're looking more at Hudson-Odoi for the value, surely.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, with the defenders as well. I mean, Alonso and Azpilicueta 5.6 each. James is only 5, so you know Chilwell 6. You're thinking maybe the value's in your Reece Jameses there. Remember, you're watching EPLW, EPL Weekly. This is a Fantasy Premier League Game Week preview with myself, Joe, and this is Roz. And if you're enjoying this video, please like it, subscribe, hit the notification button. We're doing live streams most days on the EPL. This is a fantasy chat. Tomorrow we're doing a preview of the game week, talking tactics, talking lineups, talking predictions. And then on Sunday, we wrap it all up. There's 4 of us, and we have a big old chat about it. Tweet us at EPLW Pod and become a part of the conversation as we move on to our last game of this game week. Monday night, 8 o'clock kickoff on Sky Sports. It's Leeds Crystal Palace. I bet you're looking forward to watching Monday Night Football in this one. They're going to be absolutely loving Bielsa for a good 4 hours on Sky Sports.
I was going to move my camera to the ball that I'd rather be watching than people talking about Leeds and Crystal Palace. I think I might actually skip this game, Joe, and put on a film instead. And that's from someone who watches football almost religiously. If there's a game, and I'll watch it. But think about watching Swansea after this. But I'm not going to put myself through all that.
But come on,
Leeds
okay, right. So you're not going to watch it, but where is the value? Surely it's in Super Pat Bamford up top, 124 points. He's still only 6.6 million. What a bargain striker.
Unbelievable. It's in your Pat Bamfords, it's in your Jack Harrisons.
86 points, 5.4 million. Rafinha, 69 points, 5.3 million. You know, these guys, as you were saying earlier about the fact that Mateus Pereira was 6 million for West Brom as they came up, and that was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Leeds' team and you think about how well they do going forward. Bamford 6.6 million. Everyone else is well under 6 million. Harrison 5.4, Click 5.3, Rafinha 5.3, Phillips 4.9. I mean, why would you have Calvin Phillips in your team? I don't know. Doesn't really offer much, but still, you know, their big key players are cheap, and it's good value in Leeds, surely.
Definitely. I mean, but you always see this with fantasy football, where teams or players they get played in, for example, a position that they're definitely not. We saw it with Lundstrom last season. Everyone had Lundstrom of Sheffield United in their team because the people that make fantasy football went, we're going to put him as a defender, and he played the majority of the season in midfield.
The powers that be.
The powers that be in
the fantasy football.
Right? I have to say, a again, watching a lot of Championship football, in that season where West Brom did finish above Leeds, it was clear as day to see that West Brom wouldn't do as well in the Premier League as Leeds.
Yeah.
And it was clear as day to me to see that I think Pereira's goals and assists were kind of through the roof. I think they were like level fingers. It was something like 40 goal contributions or something insane. Maybe not that much, but it was why they wouldn't give players like Patrick Bamford, why they wouldn't give players like 20 million Rafinha or Jack Harrison better scores is beyond me. And there's an absolute winning to be made there for anyone that's actually willing to put a Leeds player in their fantasy football. But yeah, for this game, I'm going to point to Jack Harrison.
Interesting.
Klitsch is another one. If he's not out injured, I believe he takes penalties. He's got a wicked shot on him. Very good player. We always talk about Palace's solidarity, but I think, to be honest, Leeds are actually going to wipe them away here.
Yeah, I mean,
looking at
just an interesting one.
Leeds, so I would go value Leeds players.
Just an interesting one, slight aside here, and I do agree with you. You mentioned Klitsch taking penalties. Leeds haven't scored a penalty this season. I can't tell you if they've had a penalty. Yeah, they haven't. Yeah, no, they haven't. They haven't been awarded a penalty this season. You think the style of football they play in the Premier League to be not awarded a penalty all season is ridiculous, isn't it?
But you know what? The way that they take penalties is so enjoyable to watch. The way that they take penalties is dynamic. It's a breath of fresh air. It's just unbelievable. The way that they actually take. I know they haven't scored them, but I've got to say it has been an absolute pleasure to watch them miss penalties this season. Can I just put that on record?
Roz, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for that appraisal of Leeds and Marcelo Bielsa's penalty-taking tactics towards the end of the show. We've run over massively. This was only meant to be a half an hour stream. It's been an hour. It's been a full hour of us chatting rubbish. But it's been good. And next week we'll try and tighten it up and we'll try and get a bit more concise with the fantasy stuff. If you want to talk tactics tomorrow, though, 10 a.m, join us here on the channel. Subscribe if you like what you see. And yeah, Sunday night, 7:30, we'll see what happens for the full-on EPLW review show. So yeah, until tomorrow morning, Roz, it's been a pleasure, mate. I'll see you next time.
Also, mate, have a nice evening. See you then.
See you later.